Hey everyone, we come to you today from Chef to Chef Live, presented from Club Resort Chef Association, and we are with two Southern Texas chefs. We have Chef Eduardo Castillo. He comes to us from San Antonio, Texas, San Antonio Country Club. We also have Chef Bob Burns from Austin Country Club. Chefs, thanks for joining me today.
Howdy, y'all.
Glad for being here.
Yeah. So let's get into the first question. What are your clubs doing right now, a la carte wise, pool wise, and to-go wise, obviously? Eduardo, if you could start us off there, please.
Yeah, so we have a 25% going up to 50% this week in occupancy for a la carte. The pool operation is running for full to-go and with limited occupancy too by reservation for pool times in dining. And we're doing packages for carry out. So the packages has slowed down a little bit in the last couple of weeks because now we're doing in-house dining, but we're still doing a good dozen orders every day. With that, we have a fish, two fish options, a beef, a chicken option, and a couple side dishes and a couple frozen meal items that they can take on their own.
Does that serve 4 to 6 people? I mean, when you talk a package, it's a kind of a family style.
Yeah, it's for 2 people, and you can
Two
extrapolate it for as many as you want. So 2, 4, 6, or 8, or whatever. So we do pints of everything. So 1 pint of soup, one large salad for 2 people, 1 pint of the size change every day. So you mashed potatoes or couscous or whatever, ratatouille or some kind of vegetables by the pint, and then 2 nice slices of fried rib, or 6 pieces of fried chicken, that kind of stuff.
And it seems to be very popular, the prime rib and the fried chicken, kind of a combination of kind of home style meals that are really popular right now. Chef Burns, what's your operation look like day to day down there?
Well, we've been doing similar things for the last month and a half. We're doing a little bit different in our to-goes. Everything is already prepared and ready to eat hot. We're including a free dessert. It has a salad and a vegetable component. And then every day it changes. We do fajitas. We did chicken fried steak. We did lasagna. We do spaghetti and meatballs. We're doing smoked brisket. We're doing the fried chicken. We're doing a lot of different things. And it's been selling well. It's very reasonable, though. We're only getting $25 for 2 for the whole package. And then
Wow.
for 4, it even goes up. So it's a value-added feature that we're trying to do. We're also doing a la carte to go. And recently, as Eduardo said, it's switching more to the a la carte, even though there's a value associated with the family package. They want their 10-ounce steak with the different sides and the sauce and the fish. And I think part of that is they want a feeling of normalcy again. They want to get back to what things were previously. We can fit about almost 100 people outside on 3/4, and we can do 60 people inside now that we're at 50%. And we anticipate to be full this weekend, this Friday, when we go to 50% per our governor. So I've got not nearly as extensive a menu as we normally do. We're running like 3 fish and a couple steaks, number of salads, some things like that, full thing of appetizers. So we're only allowing people to come in with reservations. And at the pool, we're doing reservations the same way San Antonio is. And with that, we're doing poolside orders with tablets and delivering it to the pool. We've got a abbreviated menu over there so far, but I'm already working on the next menu that we're going to do for to-goes. We're probably going to stop doing the family dining the 1st of January, that value-added feature, and we're going to go to more a la carte selections. It'll be one menu for all of our dining rooms then and the to-goes. And what I'm doing with social distancing so that if we have one person go down, we don't lose the person next to him, is I have a front and a back line, and I'm trying to figure out a way to cook part of the food on the back and bring it to the front for plating so that we maintain that 6-foot social distance. That way you don't really experience close contact. Close contact we've identified as 10 minutes within 6 feet, whether you have a mask on or not. So if you have people working right next to each other and one of them tests positive, then you lose both of them to quarantine and to a test. We've upped our, I sent you on the information that we're doing that's more than the state requires. We require a test of anybody that is symptomatic prior to returning to work, or if they test positive, they have to follow the 3 steps the governor's outlined plus a test. So.
Yeah, it's good. I saw that. There was an interesting read. So here in the Midwest, we're just starting to open up pools. So it's interesting to hear what some of the clubs down south and in Florida have been doing for a couple of months now. Not really technically closing down the pool, but kind of limiting. I'm curious, and I think a lot of people in the Midwest are curious about the little aspects that go into your a la carte dining. The governor here in Chicago, the Illinois, but the Chicago proper is allowing us to open up our patio for outdoor dining in a limited number. I think it's 50%. But the logistics of serving water and bread and butter and menus, can you tell me about that real quick, Chef Burns, and some of the steps you had to take?
Well, we went, of course, we went to a single-use menu. So the menu's used and discarded. And then there's no condiments going on the table. The request for condiments. We're not using PCs. We're using, nicer containers, and we're bringing the condiments or salad dressings or whatever to the table. And then flatware is all rolled in a napkin and dropped as opposed to being on the table already. Water is served upon request. Cocktails upon request. Everybody wears a mask that is on campus. Everybody's temp before they come on campus. And then we all have thermometers in our departments to temp anybody that appears symptomatic. So I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so you're using China. You're using,
Yeah.
a lot of places are talking about using disposables for everything. So
we looked at that, and there's really no gain. And also Austin, we have mandated to go to only 20% the landfill in a couple of years. So we're just in that consciousness now that we try to use things that are correct to begin with instead of going into the landfill. So.
Chef Castillo, can you talk to me about that program for you guys and what's the protocol?
So we appointed one dishwasher to receive all the trays that come from the dining room and sanitize in between uses. So everything is single use. We have assigned computers to each server, so they have a dedicated point of sales. So, and we're using pencils. They erase the pencils to use the computer, no fingers with the computers. Gloves service, so they put gloves before they touch the table. They put gloves before they clear the table. And like Bob said, single-use menus, single-use condiments. We're using salt and peppers upon demand or request that single-use, the little packets. We got some of those, and the butter pads. We got individually wrapped butter pads. Bread service, since they are supposed to be the same family sitting together, we do a basket of bread and goes on the table, and that's it. And everything that comes back, gets disposed, and the tray, the basket gets go to the dishwasher. So, following the same guidelines, a lot of, for the menu, what we did is we separated menu. We created a single menu, a simple menu. Each station has 2 or 3 items, and they prepare each item from beginning to end. So there's no crossing. So the saute guy is doing 100% of 1 dish or 2 dishes or 3 dishes, and each dish gets completely. So there's no crossing between the saute and pantry, no saute and broil unless, mandatory. And even if there is crossing, the only person who does the crossing is the expediter. So you have a salad with salmon, the expo get the salad from the pantry and get the salmon from the broiler, and you drop it on top of the salad, so they're not crossing on the back.
Yeah, it's so interesting how we have to rethink. We have to rethink what kind of quality food we can serve without with staying in the parameters and everything. We're a couple days out from Memorial Day. What's Memorial Day look for both of you, Chef Burns?
A lot of rain. Texas flooding. So
Yeah.
we're just going to do a la carte. Probably won't be real busy if it rains as much as it's supposed to. We could get as much as 5 inches of rain, so
That's crazy.
3 days.
Chef Castillo?
We like it. We live in a desert. We'll take rain anytime we can get it.
Spoken like a southerner.
We're in the same boat. We're gonna get some rain probably. Memorial Day is never really busy here. It's a lot of people who go away to their ranches and out of the city. And I think for them, it's a good escape to be able to finally get out of the city. Some of them are being kind of put in place. So you have seen people like living on the weekends. And I think this is our last week of school too. So they're going to take off.
No big deal. Okay.
No big deal here.
So with limited menus, limited a la carte, a lot of clubs are showing really good numbers as opposed to their budget, which a lot of clubs weren't anticipating. A la carte numbers. We can't really compare banquet numbers because they're non-existent. But talk to me about your numbers as opposed to budget, and talk to me also about inventory and cost of sales and food cost and everything, and what has been kind of the board's reflection on that, Chef Burns.
They're not concerned with it. They paid everybody through the pandemic. So we furloughed very few. And they're prepared to lose $1 million and not do banquets all year if it's necessary. So we've taken a position of trying to add value to membership through dining. They're looking at realigning dues for next year to pay for things if necessary. And, obviously our cost went down actually on a la carte dining. We augmented quite a bit with banquets, but we do a lot of buffets for ease of service because we get hit over the head at peak periods. And without those buffets, my cost of goods goes down because we run really high cost on what we do for buffets to reward people to serve themselves. So,
Chef Castillo, how's your budget looking and the board stance on that as well?
So our fiscal year ends this month, or ended up in April. So that was very timely. We lost almost 2 full months of banquet revenue. And even then, we ended up ahead of budget. We rewrote the budget to have 0 banquets until September. So the budget was kind of amended, I would say. But the club do the same. Everybody has been paid through the pandemic up to the average of the last 3 paycheck pre-pandemic. We haven't laid off anyone or let go of anyone, and we continue to actually round up hours. So if you were scheduled to, if it's our fault that you were scheduled to work, or our demand that you were scheduled to work 35 hours, the club would pay you the extra 5 hours to make it up your whole check for the time being. We don't, we're going that paycheck to paycheck or period to period. And, but the idea is to, reward and maintain the staff. Everybody who has PTO has been asked to use their PTO for it. But the club has been extremely generous about the way they dealt with this.
Yeah, there's some really good stories that are coming out of clubs, and I think as culinarians that aren't in clubs look at that, I think it's going to be shine a good light on the clubs and the culinary programs, the young chefs, and even the mid-manager food and beverage employees are going to look at that and realize the value in that. Chef Burns, we are headed to San Antonio for Chef to Chef this year. Austin, I'm sorry. And talk to me about, as people start making plans for Austin, maybe some of your sleeper picks for where they might want to visit while they're in town from a chef's standpoint.
Well, I think if we don't have a vaccine, there probably won't be anything in March, to tell you the truth. I can't imagine that they'll be doing that. I mean, things have changed really rapidly. If we do have it, it'll probably be something different. I think, you know, hopefully we've learned something from this pandemic about some of our social practices, and we're going to all behave differently in large crowds. I don't know if we'll wear masks the way everybody in Taiwan still does. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they have since pre-SARS. So, you know, they've been doing it for a while. So there's a lot to see and do in Austin. It's a lot of fun. There were a lot of great restaurants. My friends in the restaurant industry here expect a lot of them to not reopen. I think, you know, you have to have pretty deep pockets to carry a restaurant that was living paycheck to paycheck somewhat. It'll depend on investors. It'll depend on strategies. It'll depend on, you know, what kind of equity they have in them. So it's hard to say what the dining scene will be by then. A lot of places that are kind of, you know, the barbecues and the things that traveled well are still here, but some of the really high upper end restaurants, you know, it'll be interesting to see what lasts.
The steakhouses and the seafood places, I guess, that really.
Well, we have a lot of, you know, they're not really farm to table. They're more regionally respective. You know, we have interior Mexican places. We have some really, really good places, and, you know, they're rated some of the best in the country. So
Let's switch gears and try to talk about, as Club and Resort is getting on a road back to normalcy here. Have you guys been in any kind of board meeting, not necessarily executive meeting, but management meetings talking about a plan B 3 months from now or 4 months from now, what it might look like? Any crystal balls out there? Maybe Chef Castillo?
We have, you know, we're discussing right now from like starting today or starting this week, start getting some guidelines for the staff that, you know, you need to report that you're sick, and some, you know, you need to sign a contract basically now to work for us. If you're sick, we have the right to send you home. If you're sick, you're not to come to work. If anyone in your household has COVID or something like that, you're to self-quarantine and all this stuff. So that's kind of the beginning of it. The club is at this point, we want to say fairly confident that this will change the dynamic, but will allow us to continue to operate at least with the guidelines that we have. And, you know, being in a club, you're in the end, you're in the dues business, and that's kind of what keeps you alive. So that's kind of what we're looking long term. And our goal is hopefully to have some kind of resume of business by September. If anything flare up in the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to start having those conversations with a little bit more detail.
You said it was the end of your fiscal. Was there a lot of adjusting for the new fiscal budget with this going on?
Yeah, so we rewrote all the readjusted all the operational budget. We eliminated all the banquet revenue, most of the banquet revenue, all the way to September. We eliminated all the events revenue that was in there. You know, July the 4th and Memorial Day and all this stuff that was eliminated. There was no dues adjustment right now, but like Bob said, it's kind of the same conversation for probably next year. We still have a major construction project estimated to start in January, and we're kind of thinking of going through with it next January, depending on what happens in the next 3 months. But the plan was to present it to the members in March, and with all this got shelved, and it was going to be presented on the fall, and to break ground on January. We're talking about expanding the kitchen, modifying the ballroom, modifying the entrance to the building, adding an elevator. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar project to go through. But to your question.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks. Chef Burns, any crystal ball as far as projections? Have you guys started looking for 6 months down the road, or is it just a kind of let's see what comes our way?
Well, being a member-owned club that is board governance, you know, we're going to take our cue from them. That's why I mentioned before that they're unwilling to take a risk and have large outside events in here if they're not doing the same things for the membership. You know, we've got 1,200 and some members, and you know, they use facilities quite a bit. So it's all about that and adding value to membership. So that being said, you know, what we plan and do for our fiscal that'll start October 1st will be directed by the board. It's our job as managers to provide them with information about our departments, but also predictions, you know, much as you're saying. I coined the term recently, I call it PAN-PREP, pandemic preparedness. So, you know, we're looking at the possibility that there is no vaccine for, you know, 18 months or whatever. So how are we going to continue to function the way that we're functioning now and bring the most value to membership is basically what I'm looking at. So.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. So we're just at the limit of our time here. And the last question I've been trying to ask the chefs is there's one menu item on your menu that you can't take off. Chef Castillo, you got there about a year ago. What did you inherit and what can't you take off your menu? One item.
So we rolled out the menu out on Tuesday when we first came back. The first 2 tickets that came to the order was nachos. We make this tostada, we spread out with bean puree and they kind of chicken or cheese or something like that on it. We didn't have it on the menu. Literally the first 2 orders that came to the kitchen came with nachos to it. So immediately 3 days later, we had nachos on the menu.
Chef Burns, you've been there quite a while. I don't know if you inherited anything or.
We do nachos pretty much like he said, but we don't do the refried beans. We're doing more whole beans, and we smoke brisket and smoked chicken, and we use those to make them a little more of our own. They're also available with fajitas toppings as well, fajita beef, fajita chicken. But they are very popular, and the guys really like them after golf. And we weren't doing them for a while, but I have put them on the last menu, and they'll be on menus in perpetuity. So
they're here to stay, huh?
But they're delicious.
They're good.
Right. Well, chefs, thanks a lot for joining me. I want to encourage everybody to visit the website. It is association.clubandresortchef.com. We are going to put on some new forums and open forums and get a couple new tabs working in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully everybody can visit and get some information and get some more content from other chefs around the country on the website. So hopefully everybody visits it. Chef, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Hope everything goes well. We'll talk soon, okay?